All right, welcome everyone. We'll give it just a minute for folks to trickle in. Welcome, happy Saturday. If you see people joining, so we'll give it just a second before we get going. All right, I would love to welcome everyone. Welcome to our workshop on this sunny Saturday. My name is Harmony. I work for the City of Portland with the Fix It Fair, and we are happy to be here today to learn about herb growing in containers. Swan is here with us from the Master Gardener program. Just a couple quick things before I pass things over to her. We love questions, we love chat. If you are joining us on your computer, at the bottom of your screen, if you hover your mouse, there's both a Q&A and a chat button. You can use either one of those to ask your questions. And then when we get to a good point, we'll read those questions out loud so everybody can hear them and get you answers. If you're joining us on Facebook Live, just drop the questions in the chat. I'm monitoring that as well. And we will do the same thing and make sure that those get answered for everybody. If you would like to do the captions, automated captioning is available for this webinar. If you go on the bottom, you should see an option that you can turn off and on by clicking the CC button, and that will give you the words at the bottom of the screen if that's easier for anyone to follow along. So welcome to the Fix It Fair. With that, welcome Swan. Again, I am Harmony, one of the coordinators for the fair, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn things over to you.
Thank you. Hi, I know it's a beautiful day out there, and I'm sure every one of us would like to be out there. But thank you for being here. My name is Swan Seibel, and I am an OSU Extension Master Gardener volunteer. I'm also a member of the Herb Society of America for over 10 years. Just in case, if you have not heard of our Master Gardening program, OSU, Oregon State University Master Gardeners educate Oregonians about the art and science of growing and caring for plants. Master Gardeners are volunteer educators, your neighbors, and on-the-ground researchers who serve their community with solid training in science-based, sustaining gardening, and a love of lifelong learning. Oops. Let me get back there for a minute. I just want to show, talk about the first slide with the picture. Here's a mint container occupied temporarily by a baby bird. So I thought that was really cute. I was actually banished from my deck because the mama junco had her eggs inside underneath all my mint plants. So it took a couple of weeks, and here he came out, and they all did fine. Today's topic is growing herbs in container. The herb selection includes some you may know and some you may not. Now, herbs are used all over the world to elevate the flavor of food, but they are expensive to get from the grocery store. So why not grow them? Now, herbs can be grown in the ground, but our focus is on container gardening. Herbs attract pollinators and birds, and they smell so good. Some of the reasons why you need to put herbs in a container are: one, it's an herb you've never grown before, so try it out in a container. You don't have a yard, so grow your herbs in a container. Or the herbs can be quite aggressive, so you need to contain it in a container. Before I talk about these herbs, though, there are highlights about growing herbs in a container that I do need to cover. So you can use any container that you'd like. Anything that you can put soil in is a container. The big thing are that you need to put drainage holes in them. Typically, they go in the bottom of the container, but it's okay to put them on the side as well. And the other thing is you make sure to use the proper size for your plant, which I will cover in a little bit. Use potting mix to fill your container, not garden soil. And many mixes now come with added fertilizers, so wait a few weeks after planting to add fresh fertilizer. And typically, liquid fertilizer acts much faster, like fish emulsion. And if you do that, use just a quarter strength every 2 to 3 weeks. You do not need to fertilize every week. Look at how your herbs grow, how they like what you're doing. Some like the soil to be moist, some prefer to dry out before watering. And with container gardening of herbs, you need to prune or harvest frequently. And if you have your herbs inside your house, make sure they get plenty of light or in some type of southern exposure. So I'd like for you to take a look at this slide, and you may guess what they are. If you look at the leaves here, where my pointer is, and over here where this leaf is very pointy and some are very narrow, these are all actually thyme. The only difference is they might be French thyme, German thyme, common thyme, very confusing. But they are a perennial. It means it comes back year after year. It's woody. That's important to remember. And the flowers of thyme comes in many color. Like I said, you can have English thyme, German thyme, French thyme, and usually you can tell apart by the shape of the leaf. They get to be about 12 inches tall. Other varieties are sprawlers. And thyme is quite forgiving. You can grow it in full sun, but it tolerates part shade, water when it mostly dries out. The pot needs to be about 6 to 8 inches deep. And because it is a perennial, you want to just harvest the top 1/3 of the plant to maintain its bushiness. As far as picking which thyme you want, it's really to taste. Lots of chefs prefer French thyme. I like the English thyme because it's just easy to get, and it's just a preference. The leaves of the thyme can be used fresh or dried, and it's usually not the main herb in a recipe because it's used in combination with many other herbs. But actually, thyme is one of those herbs where if you didn't have another herb that's called for in your recipe, thyme is pretty much a good substitute. The second herb that I would like to talk about is mint. Now, mint is one plant you definitely need to grow in a pot and don't put it in the ground because it is very aggressive. And although it smells really great, it does need to be contained in a pot. There are actually many species of mint, so many cultivars. It's really confusing. It's perennial, comes back year after year. And as far as growing them, it's best to put them in a pot like at least 10 to 12 inches deep because some of them kind of spread by underground stems, and it goes to by its width. And have the pot about 8 inches wide. Keep the soil don't moist but not overly wet, and it can take sun or partial shade. Sometimes if it's too much shade, the leaf might not come out as big as you might like. And over here, it's really hard to tell whether it's spearmint or peppermint. That's really difficult to tell sometimes because the peppermint is half spearmint and half watermint. It is a hybrid. So sometimes it's really hard to tell. But thyme has been used for cooking since ancient Greek and Roman times. And it's used quite a bit, and it actually smells really good. So here there are I said there are over 25 species of thyme, and here is the spearmint. And I'll try to explain the difference to you, although it's not always easy to spot. So spearmint, just the name itself, that's the common name spear, which means the leaf tips are usually pointed like spears. And the blooms on the spearmint typically are pink or white in the summer. And you can use it fresh, dried, frozen, however you like. Peppermint, on the other hand, got a purplish blooms instead of the pink and white blossom. It is more purplish. And the leaves and the stems are kind of fuzzy, which is different from the spearmint. Peppermint is typically not used for cooking, but mostly for teas and oils. Now, if you've never grown herbs, or if you're thinking, if you're new at this, the best herb to grow in the container is chives. Um, Seriously, I mean, look at how happy these bumblebees are when the blooms come out. This is the easiest plant to grow in a container, the easiest herb to grow. You could see the leaves look very grass-like. It's like spring onions, although milder in flavor. So I use often when you run out of spring onions. You can grow it in sun or part sun, water when it dries out, but try to keep it evenly moist. But it's a very forgiving plant. And the nice thing about this, when it gets too full in your pot, you just take it out, split it in half, and then repot them and give the other part away. It's a great plant. The pot size needs to be about 8 inches deep and 8 inches wide. This is one of the most underused herbs. I understand why it's not used often, but like I said, it's a mild onion flavor. It's added to soups, salads, eggs. Both leaves and flowers are edible. The next herb is basil. I'm sure everyone has heard of basil, but there are so many basil. It is hard to keep up with. Now, the Mediterranean basil, the Asian basil, basil originally, though, is from, it's worldwide. It's from, like, I can't see my handwriting here. Yes, Asia, India, and Africa. So I put pictures here about the many variety species of different type of basil, different smells, but they're wonderful. The one in the middle, this is I am growing this right now. It's a very interesting basil. If you look at the leaves, how different they are, serrate the serration. This is called the Rihani basil that is from Africa. And this one is apparently doesn't mind being on the dry side, whereas the rest of your basil, you need to keep the soil moist. Oops, wrong way. Okay, now the basil I want to talk about, though, is the basil from Asia. And it's got many names, usually cinnamon basil, licorice basil, Thai basil, anise basil, all kinds of names. But this is the one I want to talk about. It is purple stem, flowers, leaves. The leaves are spear-like and narrow, so observe that. And it does need to have at least 6 hours of sunlight if you plan on growing this in a pot. It smells wonderful. It's very tender, but it can be a perennial. But we grow it as an annual. It means it'll go to seeds and then you have to replant them the following year. And in order to keep it growing well, you need to keep pinching them. Pinch as they grow, the first two sets of leaves, just keep pinching them. And then you need to harvest small amounts of leaves frequently. And then you can grow it from seed to take cuttings. A lot of this particular basil is used all throughout Southeast Asia. There's hardly any dish that you get there that doesn't have this particular basil. It really has a wonderful smell, different from your the basil that we're familiar with, because I think this also has a very mild anise type of flavor or scent, as opposed to your sweet Genovese basil. Then the other herb I want to talk about is za'atar. People are very, I was confused about za'atar for the longest time, because when I first learned about za'atar, it is actually a spice mix from the Middle East. People love to use it on their bread or, in their cooking. And in that spice mix is a mixture of either thyme, savory, sumac, and it's actually a secret ingredient. So it depends on where you get your za'atar from. And then I also learned that za'atar is also a plant. And it's a plant that, and it depends on which part, which region, which country that this za'atar plant comes from. The actual botanical name is very different. One of them, it's an evergreen. One of them is a perennial. So, and here it is, highlights, and I'll show you the picture. There's one that is oregano, a type of oregano, and it's native to Lebanon, and they call that za'atar. And then we have one that is a savory plant from Crete, and it's very much like winter or summer savory herb. And then we have a Mediterranean thyme, and they all call it za'atar, and it gets very confusing. So hopefully this will help out a little bit. So the oregano is Oreganum syriacum. That is the botanical name if you want to grow this particular za'atar. The savory is Satureja thimbra. That is if you want to try growing this za'atar. Or the Mediterranean thyme is Thimbra spicata if you want to try growing this particular za'atar. And this is the picture. On the right is the Mediterranean thyme, and on the left is the savory. And oops, I'm so sorry. And this is the oregano or Oreganum suricatum. As you can see, they're all different, but they all call them za'atar, which is not the same as the spice. Now we'll move to Southeast Asia and talk about some of the herbs that are used widely in many parts of Southeast Asia. The most common one is the Vietnamese coriander. I have seen this sold in A-Boy, some of the nurseries, so it's quite common. The top Persicaria odorata is just a botanical name, but you can see it can be referred to as Vietnamese coriander, and it's not a coriander. Vietnamese mint, and it's not a mint. Laksa is the Thai name. It is a perennial, and the growth is sprawling, meaning it'll grow up about 4 inches and then it will sprawl. It's a nice spread. The leaf is very interesting, it's very lance shaped, and the stem is reddish and jointed right there. It's related to the knotweed, by the way, which is a very noxious weed. But this is not the Vietnamese coriander. It's extremely easy to grow in pots. I do suggest that you take it inside or cover it well with mulch or something during the winter months. And it prefers to be moist. The flowers are apparently pinkish to purplish, but I've never seen them here outside of tropical climate, because summer isn't long enough and then the winter fall hit and you never see them flower. The roots are shallow, so and it's spread horizontally, and it's really to propagate. Take a stem cutting, cut a stem, stick it in a little bit of water, and in about a week or so, you will see roots coming out. And then take that out and then just plant those. Easy to grow. It's not bothered much by pests. The thing with this also is we do not cook these leaves. They don't have any flavor once you cook it. It's all added fresh. So you can just take, tear off the leaf and then tear it further, just however you want, or you can cut them into smaller pieces. And it's added to dishes such as chicken salad, salad rolls. And it's very difficult to describe the scent, but once you smell it, it's very hard to mistake it for any other herb. Cilantro is the other one that is extremely easy to grow in a pot. Um, it's an annual, and so sun or part shade. The thing about the sun come summer, it's not going to like it very much. It will bolt in very hot weather. You can, it's about this time. It looks like a very nice day outside, and you can just throw a few seeds of thyme. I mean, sorry, cilantro in a pot, or you can buy small transplants. Don't wait till the plants get too big before you transplant them. If you buy them in a small container and then put them in a pot, because the roots will get a little bit long and it's kind of hard to transplant sometimes. If you are using cilantro just for the leaves, it's okay to plant a lot of them in a pot. You can just have them 2 inches apart and just keep harvesting the leaves. All parts of the plants actually have culinary uses. The seeds, when the plant it goes to seeds, they are called coriander, and and then the roots of the plants are used to flavor soups in many Asian cuisine. Unfortunately, this herb is also um, not favored by many people. They report smell like socks. So I don't know. If you like it, that's great. If you don't like it, there are actually alternative plants that you may try. Uh, One is called papalo, and the other is pipicha. They all act flavor just like cilantro, but they may not have that pronounced scent that you may be adverse to. Then the other thing that you need to grow in a container is lemongrass. It's hard to grow it out in the ground because they will die. It's too cold for them. Um, it's you have the leaf here, and then you have the base of the stem. And I put it in a 5-gallon pot or larger, and you need to have it. The pot needs to be 14 inches across, and it can grow up to 5 feet tall if you let it. Full sun is best, but if you have part shade, it's okay. Keep it moist, but not constantly wet. Um, and then let's see, the leaf edges are very sharp. It's very lemon scented. It's just wonderful. I've used the base. I cut it, and you can use it to barbecue. To use this as your barbecue. What do I say? Stick, and add your meat or that, so the scent flavor will come out. During barbecue, it's a wonderful thing to do. You can add it to your marinade, and you can use the entire stock to flavor your broth. Make sure you pound the base and really well because it's very tough sometimes. I do have I don't know how to share this, but I actually got a lemongrass from the store, and I actually cut this sort of, a third of the, like almost down to the base. I left a little bit of leaf, stuck it in a glass of water, and I'm now staring at five roots. So it's rooting really well. And I will share it later on after I figure out how to do that. The other Asian herb is shiso. That's just a common name referring to shiso. Shiso can be a Japanese shiso, can be Korean shiso. It's all different, and they all vary in texture. not so much scent, but the texture and how they are used. It is an annual or perennial. Some have two-tone leaves, like the one here. One side is green and the other is red or purple. And some are just plain old green. I was introduced to shiso back in the 80s when I was at a Japanese restaurant eating sushi. I did not like the taste of seaweed. And so, for people who prefer not to have seaweed, what you have, the substitute is actually shiso. That's what your fish is wrapped around. Has a very nice, intense flavor, uh, but hard to describe. Again, you might want to, taste them first before you think about planting them. It's very easy to grow. Um, you can see, I don't know if you're familiar with our native nettles. It's poking up, all over the woods, but they don't sting, but it looks very much like nettles. Um, and there is a red shiso, only red, and that is not used culinary. It's used to pickle plums. So very different. Then the other thing I want to cover is King Zoe. This is the botanical name, Elsholzia ciliata, Vietnamese lemon balm, but it's not the lemon balm that you think of when we think about lemon balm. Because the other lemon balm we all know is, I think it's Melissa officinalis. This is a different genus and species altogether. But it does look like lemon balm. It's native to Asia, has bright green leaves with serrated margin. This is called the serrated margin, and purple flowers. Unfortunately, this herb is so highly valued in a lot of Southeast Asian cuisine that when many people come over here and settle here, these herbs are grown, and now it's become a noxious weed in many states. It grows really well. So, this is another thing that is best to contain them in a pot. The flavor profile is very similar to lemon verbena and lemongrass, um, and it's quite tasty. It likes sun, moist soil. I grow them as an annual, and if it's in the right condition, it can get up to 2-3 feet tall. So keep pinching the leaves. Um, and these leaves are not cooked. Typically, a lot of the herbs I just talked about are added at the table to flavor your food. So I get this question a lot about how to roll up, how to do a roll using rice wrapper. It's fairly simple. So this is just a quick demonstration. And there are variations, but this is very easy to.
Now, we're going to take a rice wrapper, and wet it on both sides. Shake it off and lay it on a plate, and you just have to wait. Let's see here if this is anywhere ready. Still a little bit. Yeah, probably. Okay, so right near the center, followed by some carrots, and this is shiso, chicken, shredded chicken. The thing is, you don't want to put too much on the rice paper because it makes it a little bit harder to roll. So first, you lift it up. Use this finger and push the food back. Right? And get the side in. And just roll it. And there you have it. A little salad roll.
So, oops, sorry. And you can use the rice paper in many ways. This is from somebody in my group, and she made it with, I think there's mango and edible flowers in here. Looks really yummy. So, so this comes to the end of my talk. If you have any questions, I will try to answer them as much as I can. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Swan. Let me scroll down here. It looks like we have some appreciation, some thank yous. I don't see any questions quite yet, but let's give it just a second to make sure that.
How do I share my the lemon? I want to see the lemongrass, how I cultivate it. I don't know how. Do I stop share and just go to the screen?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Okay. Where do I? Okay, I have to do that. Oh, how do I get to you? Just a second. Ah, there we go. So I just wanted to show see how the lemongrass, how it's taking root. That's pretty cool, huh? Can everyone see that?
I love that. Yes, we can see it.
Cool.
We have a question here from Amber. Are there any herb combinations that can be planted in one container together? So I think like if there's a combo of a couple that you can put in a single container.
Okay, that's a very good question. Let me take a look at what as far as thyme, I would not put different variety of thyme in one container. How you choose to plant, like which herbs to put in the same container, that you have to know they have to tolerate the same growing condition. So, if thyme prefers a little bit on the dry side, then maybe you don't do it with basil, because basil likes to be a little bit on the moist side. So consider if they can tolerate being in the sun or not in the sun. So look at the growing condition, and they have to have the same growing condition in order to put them in the same container.
Perfect. And I think that's all the questions we have for right now. Just double checking on both Facebook and on Zoom. And then we do have a handout. I'm going to drop a copy of the link to our handout, and I'll also put this in our Facebook Live so that people have that available for them as well. All right. Any final thoughts to share with us, Swan? Any just parting words of advice as we go collect our herbs?
I love herbs, and it's a lifelong learning, always learning about them. I think it's just one of those plants. It's just so easy to grow, and it just smells so good. And if you're not familiar, try growing one or two. I think I mentioned chives. If you've never grown herbs, just try chives first, and then slowly, build up your confidence. I've made my first mistake was put the mint on the ground, and I'm still pulling mint out of the ground. So, yes, put mint in a pot. So, it's fun. Enjoy it. And the thing is, it just smells so good. It just makes gardening for me really worthwhile. I love the smell of plants, particularly herbs. So enjoy it. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining us,
Well,
for both
thank
our
you.
participants and for you,
Yeah.
Swan. We really appreciate everyone being here on their Saturday afternoon. And it's so nice and sunny out. Please, everybody, get out and enjoy the weather.
I know I'm going to do it right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you have any questions or comments, if you start embarking on your journey, please don't hesitate to let us know. I'll drop our email link on here and we can always reach out to the master gardeners and say, help, we have a question, and get answers to you. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend.